Hello, everyone. Welcome to Valiantys' Jira for All Teams webinar. The name, as you can see, has changed, but the content of the webinar is still the same. Again, the content is going to focus on real-life use cases of how Jira and some other Atlassian tools have been used by non-IT teams. So just highlighting that Jira is not just for IT and software, it's for any type of team. So really thank you for joining me today. I hope that this webinar is valuable for you and worthy of your time. My name is Jason Kidner. I'm going to be your tour guide over the next hour through these different tools and some use cases. I'm an enterprise solutions architect here at Valiantys. I'm also a safe practice consultant and an Atlassian certified professional. I am joined today by my colleague, Kristen, who's going to be monitoring the Q&A chat area, and we'll also be posting some helpful links in the chat. So she'll be able to answer any questions you have, and I'm going to do my best to answer questions that you have at the end of the webinar. So a little housekeeping, a pretty straightforward agenda. Going to do some introductory thoughts around work and around the Atlassian products. Then I'm going to go into some real-life examples. That's going to be the bulk of the webinar, is these 5 real-life use cases. And then there'll be some time again at the end for questions. So please submit your questions in the Q&A area of this Zoom call. So let's start off with talking about a better way to work. So again, despite the name of this webinar, it's not just going to be about Jira products. We are going to talk about an array, or I'm going to talk about an array of tools and processes. So kind of a blending of processes that we've seen some of our clients use along with Atlassian products like Jira. I'll be showing some other products as well. Ultimately, this is all designed to help you and your teams work in a better way, no matter what type of team you are. So what are the core ingredients of a better way to work? So it's making work visible, having clear next steps in processes, making work collaborative, so letting everybody help each other out, using flexible tools that change as quickly as your environment changes, and lastly, shifting your mindset from doing more work in less time to generating more value with less work. So again, a real focus here, as you can see, on visibility, value, and collaboration and flexibility. And going along with this, just really need to make a mention here about people and processes and tools. So I highlight this and I highlight this specifically in this order of people, processes, and tools, because people are foundational to your teams, to your work, to your organizations, right? They're functioning because you have a great set of people that are working together. And then you also then have your processes in place that hopefully are focusing on value and collaboration, and that you're all able to work really well as a team and your teams are working well with other teams. And then lastly, there's the tools, right? You ideally have these flexible tools that support and don't hinder your people and your processes. And then just to highlight that, you know, great tools can't solve your people or process problems. I'm going to highlight some great tools, right, for these Atlassian products that are really, really helpful, really great, but they can't ultimately solve, people and processes. They can hopefully help you get the ball rolling and thinking about your processes better and maybe working those through, but the tools can't solve everything. So now let's turn our attention to some of those tools that we're going to be highlighting in this webinar. So again, this is going to focus on Atlassian products and tools, and Atlassian tools are typically pretty ubiquitous. They're likely already being used somewhere in your organization. We often work with business teams who are ready to purchase Atlassian products, try them out, and then they're surprised to find out that some part of their organization, typically again software or IT or some other part of their organization, are already using some of the tools like Jira or Confluence. And from there, you know, it's pretty easy to start using them, even if it's not currently being used in your company. You don't typically need a vice president of procurement to help you to get started with these tools. They're lightweight. They're very reasonably priced, And you can start up with trials before you even pay for them. So they're very easy to get started with, and they're very customizable. Not going to get into all that today, but they are very, very customizable. So what are some of these tools? Let's go back here. So some of the tools we're going to look at today are Jira Work Management, Jira Software. These names are still out there, and they're seen within the tools, but Atlassian is now going more towards just the Jira. Like, there's not Jira Work Management, there's not Jira Software, there's just Jira. You basically buy a license for Jira, and you get both of these products that I'll kind of highlight together with your Jira license. Then there's Jira Service Management, which is, again, a separate product that kind of layers in with Jira, and that's used for service desks. And I'm going to highlight one of those as one of our use cases. We also have Confluence. That is Atlassian's collaborative wiki-style documentation tool. And I'm going to highlight that again, and how that can even integrate nicely with Jira and with Jira Service Management. Then there's also Trello. I'm not really going to highlight too much about Trello. I'm going to show just a quick link to it and some of the integrations from some of these tools into Trello. But Trello is a pretty straightforward work management tool that have boards that you're tracking your work in through boards in a really easy way. A lot of people use these even for their personal, just for personal tasks and to-do lists. There's other Atlassian tools and products, but we're not going to cover all of those or any other ones really today. So we're kind of through our introductory thoughts. Now we're going to go into the heart of this webinar, which are these 5 practical examples, these real life use cases of how we've worked with different clients and different business teams to help achieve and deal with some of their pain points. So our 5 use cases here are going to be task management, project management, hiring and onboarding, service desks, and then documentation, or the centralization of information. So first off, we'll talk task management. And for each of these, as you see, we're going to highlight who is it for, what's the problem, what's the potential solution, and then what are the Atlassian tools that I'm going to show you in a little demo. So for task management, this really applies to anyone, any type of team, right? You're, as a team doing work, you're handling some sort of tasks, whatever that might be. And the problem or problems is, we as a team, what do we have to do? What are the tasks that we have to work on, and to making those visible to everybody? And then, is everything up to date? Are all the, anything related to this task, any updates, statuses, fields, things like that, are they up to date? Or do I have to have status meetings all the time to know what the latest thing is? And then, who's taking care of that? Who's responsible for that particular task? So these are typical, again, any team is going to have these typical problems or these things that they need to solve for. So the solution is central task management, ideally with multiple views, moving away from a spreadsheet that's just on one person's desktop to something that's more out there, visible on the internet, that your whole team can collaborate with. So for this, I'm going to show you Jira Work Management, or what's also known as a business project within Jira, and you'll get a flavor of that. And then I'll also be showing you in some other examples, the Jira software, or some other types of Jira projects. So let's switch over to our demo instance. This is a cloud instance of Jira. Everything I'm going to show you today is on the cloud. So we're highlighting those with these demos. And so you can see here, you come into Jira, and this is a list of all the projects in our demo site. And you can see here that there's these company managed business project. That's what I'm going to show here is Jira Work Management. And then there's various other types of projects that we're going to show later on. So we're going to jump into this accounting project, so you get a feel for what this looks like. So again, this is meant to be for task management. This could be used for any type of project. It's called a business project, but any type of team could potentially use this. So you first have this tab called the Summary tab. That's pretty much a predefined dashboard of the work and activities within this project. So you can see some of these widgets that appear. This is not very customizable. It comes just out of the box here with one of these business projects. Then there's a board. Again, this isn't, if you're used to Jira software, we can create many different boards in a project. This is like a predefined board that's based off of the workflow. That's workflows that have been set up within the project for your different work items. So, but you can see here, there's a column for each status of the workflows. Each of these different cards represents, in this case, a task. That's that checkbox icon. There's various issue types that you can create in Jira. This is a typical one task. We'll also talk about epics, which is this lightning bolt icon. But the idea of the board is that it's meant to just visualize very nicely all the work you're doing and where it's at, where each work item is at in its workflow. And these can be moved around. So it's a very dynamic visualization. So you can move these around, but it's, again, really meant to help what's your work items, where is it at in its status. There's even little icons here. You can see avatars around who is assigned to that particular work item. So that's your board. There's also a list view that looks more like a spreadsheet view. So your business teams can bring their spreadsheets, import all that data into Jira as a business project, and you can see all this work very nicely. These can be edited in line. It can be sorted and filtered very, very nicely. So again, you can get your teams out of your spreadsheets, get them in here where you can work and do a lot of more collaboration, if you will, and see a lot different views than you could just on a spreadsheet. So you have the list view. There's also a calendar view that, again, these are all optional. You can use them or not. The calendar view shows the different work items that your team's working on. The dates here are populated via, there's date fields that come with these issues, like a start date, a due date. So those are used to help define where these issues show up on the calendar. So there's this option. There's a timeline option, which gives you, again, that roadmap or that Gantt view. This is fairly basic, but again, it goes off those date fields on the issues. And you can start to see here that there's an issue hierarchy within Jira. So typically within a project, there's going to be an epic issue that's at the top of the hierarchy, and you can create child issues underneath that. In this case, the tasks are children of the epics. And then even beneath a task, you can create what are called subtasks. So you have this out-of-the-box 3-level hierarchy within Jira. And I won't go into depth about how you can create other levels with other types of Jira tiers, but that's also possible as well. So you have a timeline view. There's also a form view within business projects that basically allow you to take the create screen that you would typically see up here with Jira when you're creating issues in a project. It basically takes this create screen and it creates a nicer form that can be shared with other Jira users, and and gives you a little bit more ability to customize what those fields are called and maybe some help text around those fields. So it's basically just a glorified create screen that you can customize a little bit more. So that's a possibility. There's another number of other possibilities out here, other views I'm not going to go in depth on, but hopefully you can see and have a vision of how this particular type of project could very easily and very well be used for task management. So, and as I show some other type of the other Jira projects, you can also see how those potentially could be used. And you can pick and choose, right? You get both business and software projects with your Jira licenses now in the cloud. All right, we're going to move on to our next use case, which is project management. Okay, again, who is this use case for? Well, it could be for PMO teams, HR teams, marketing teams, really any team who manages projects, which is probably most types of teams. You're doing your work that rolls up to something larger that you're trying to achieve. So what are some typical problems? Well, there's misalignment, right, around who's doing what, how does this task fit, where, just various things that could be hard to kind of see very easily depending on the tools or the processes you have in place. But if you're managing multiple projects, again, who's keeping track of all the work, who's collaborate, like how are the various team members collaborating, and what if there's handoffs needed within a specific team. So things like that, delayed handoffs. There could be manual status reports that take a lot of time to do, and there could be meetings that have to happen in order to keep everyone up to date, versus just letting everybody see the up-to-date status at any given time that they want to. So again, a lot of different potential problems. Another thing is just the work is maybe being tracked in Excel or PowerPoint. That is hard to find. It's not maybe easily visible, and people have a hard time knowing where to even find it. And so a lot of different problems that can come up that we've seen with our clients. So the solution at a high level is, again, to make project work more visible and to make it more easily modified by your team members in the tools, and to help automate reporting. That's really important, right? To not have your team members work so hard on status reports and to make things visible, but to have it very easily show, and any changes to be shown dynamically. So what we're going to highlight here with the tools to achieve this solution, in this case, is Jira software. You could also use Jira Work Management for this as well. I'm going to highlight Jira software, and I'm also going to highlight Confluence, which gets more into that reporting piece of the solution. So let's go back to our cloud instance, and I'm going to go back to our list of projects. And this time, I'm going to be looking for one of our company managed software projects. Actually, I think I have it highlighted here. Yep, here we go. So this is a Jira software project. As you can see very quickly, it looks different from a business project. So the software project has more of this left-hand project menu with all the different choices instead of those tabs at the top. If there's a board within your project, you're going to land right into the board. In this case, we do have a Kanban board set up in this project. You can create multiple boards within a Jira software project, and they're very, very customizable, a little bit more customizable than, I should say, a lot more customizable than a business project board. So in our case, this project is meant to be for our marketing team, and this is showing the marketing task board. This particular project is set up, as you can see, with epics, that lightning bolt icon, and tasks. The epics in this project are meant to represent the projects, so that, and we can see here we have Project Alpha, we have Project Beta, Project Epsilon. So these are the projects that the marketing team are working on. And those projects then are broken into tasks. We happen to show both of these on the same board to show where things are at in their status with their workflows. And when I click on one of these cards, I'm going to click on this epic, which again represents the larger project, in this case, Project Alpha. So in here, we can see that you can make any of these work items have any fields that you want them to have. You can create new custom fields, lots of different types of fields in Jira. So in this case, we have a background field, business objectives, scope, assumptions. These are large text fields that you can, again, populate. What is this project all about? What's it trying to achieve? So you can put that real clear, finite details here. There's tabs you can put in to highlight other fields here. You also have this right-hand part of the screen where you can highlight different people working in the project, like sponsors, stakeholders. This is where you would typically see your date fields that you put in here. And this has start, target end, priority, the name of the epic, things like that. So you see a lot of opportunity to put field information in here that users can update, and real-time reporting can then show and highlight those changes of the fields. As I scroll down, you can see the child issues within this epic, this project. So different tasks. There's a milestone task as well, We'll see how that's highlighted later. And then without going too far, there's lots of linking you can do within Jira, and you can add comments. So you can collaborate back and forth with comments, give a nice audit trail of work being done on a given issue as well. So that's all highlighted here. So again, the work item, even the project level, could be represented by one particular work item or issue, as it's called within Jira. It's represented here. It's broken down into smaller tasks, which are then also represented on the board, which could also be assigned to various team members. And then they're working those tasks. And ultimately, those tasks are all eventually moved to the done column. They're finished. And hopefully, once you finish all the tasks under a project, then the larger project could then be closed out. So that's typically how we see these things work within Jira. But let's then focus on that pain point around status reporting. So for that, I want to shift over to Confluence. So I'm going to open in this other tab here. Let's get out. Okay, here we go. So now we're in Confluence. Again, this is Confluence Cloud. This is on the same site as our Jira site. So they're all part of the same Atlassian organization. So there's a lot of really tight integration between the two products. Here I am in what's called a space within Confluence. It's similar to a project in Jira. It's basically a container for the documentation you're trying to make. So this is the marketing space. And within that space, I can scroll down and I can see all the pages that are in this space. So you're creating various pages and those pages are then potentially parented by other pages. So you have this page hierarchy or kind of foldering system over here. So for our purposes, I want to highlight that this project alpha that was represented as an epic in Jira is over in Confluence represented by a page. And so this page is meant to be the quick view on like, hey, what's the latest status updates here? Well, I can come to this page. I can see various things coming over from Jira. So this shows the integration with Jira. This particular project is represented by an epic. I can see a little bit about its progress, its priority, who's working on it. This page also has some other what are called macros on the page, like a team calendar. So the marketing team has their calendar listed here with updates around this particular project, or maybe just other team members' vacation time or other events happening for the team. There's a table here that's highlighting a couple of things. This actually is showing things put into Confluence alone, like some of these statuses are just in Confluence. But then as I scroll down, I can also see project details, which are bringing in fields from the Jira issue or that Jira epic that's representing Project Alpha. So you can pull in various fields from Jira into Confluence. So all that's being shown here. So it's a mixture of both Jira and Confluence on this page. As I scroll down, I can see that you can bring in different filters of work items based on, again, filtering for those issues in Jira. You can bring them in and represent them here as essentially a filter results. You can bring in pie chart diagrams. You can scroll down and I can see, again, completed work. I can see milestones that are represented by those tasks over in Jira. I can bring in other fields from that epic that show up here, stakeholders, background. Whatever fields I want to, I can bring those into a Confluence page. So anything that's changed in Jira will change over here in real time. So you always have an up-to-date, or hopefully an up-to-date view of the project. You can also put attach files onto Confluence pages. So we have this page representing a project for the marketing team, and then we have various pages for the other projects they're working on. And then at the top, parenting all of these is the project dashboard that we've done for various clients. That basically is a summary page bringing in information from each of the underlying pages into this page as a very quick overview for higher level stakeholders to show you very quickly what's happening with these, what are their statuses. Those higher level stakeholders could come in here on their own and look at this. They don't have to join a status meeting to find out all this. They can come and self-serve here. So hopefully, again, you're getting a vision for how you could use Confluence along with Jira to manage projects. So keep your questions. If you have any questions about this, please put them into the Q&A chat. I'll answer them later. Before we go on to our final 3 use cases, just a quick commercial break to talk a little bit more about Valiantys. So Valiantys is an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner. So, and in fact, we are one of the largest global Platinum Solution Partners out there. We, again, are anywhere in the world. We are one of only 3 global partners. So we have huge representation within North America, within Europe, within APAC, and we have a global team as well. So we can cover all the different time zones. We can work with organizations from all over the world. So, and many different languages obviously supported there. We work with any product in the Atlassian ecosystem. Okay, we are an Atlassian first company. So we do licensing, we do implementations, we do support, you name it, anything within the Atlassian ecosystem, we can help you with that. We can also help with any platforms, cloud, private cloud, data center. We also have managed services. We do hosting. We can help with all sorts of different things related to any of these platforms. So hopefully you're getting a sense that we can do anything you need help with. It could even be custom development. We have a great custom development team that's available for integrations, for new front ends, for just any special app needs, what you name it, we can help. And here's just a few other things to highlight just how specialized we are, how we are really the #1 global Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner. Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to our 3rd use case. This is around hiring and onboarding. So this particular use case is, you think, yeah, for HR teams, but it's really for anyone who's doing hiring and onboarding. The problems, and I'm kind of talking about a specific problem with one of our clients that we worked with, which happened to be an insurance company, is that processes change over time and workflows, maybe need to change. And this particular one was related to an insurance company that was hiring thousands of people a year to be agents to handle all those insurance claims or insurance onboarding, things like that. So they had a huge pipeline, a full pipeline. They had to coordinate all those onboarding tasks across multiple teams. They had to sync those onboarding tasks with external systems like an HIRS system, other systems that are like maybe IT needs to get involved to procure and to allocate computers, phones, things like that. And it also, this whole process needed to meet insurance industry compliance. And this particular organization was stuck in spreadsheets, which again was making collaboration and visibility and automation and you name it. It was making the whole setup and for onboarding really difficult. So the solution at a high level was a tailored workflow, or actually a couple of different tailored workflows to provide clear next steps in the onboarding process, as well as automation for validation of information, automation for creating tasks downstream, automation for working with external systems as well. And then also a solution for a reporting dashboard to show everybody where everything's at, where people are at in the process. So the tool for this, I'm going to show you Jira software. Jira Service Management could also be used, and I'm going to highlight Service Management in the next use case, but that could also certainly be used for this. So I'm going to go back into our cloud instance. This time I'm going to jump back into our Jira instance and go to our onboarding project. Again, you can see here, this is a Jira software project. So this one in particular has a couple different boards. First, I want to show you the tier 1 onboarding board. So in this case, this project has a couple different issue types. We see here on this board, we see this one, it's called the 1 issue type or the tier 1 issue type. And these issues are meant to represent the people that are being onboarded. So the summary of these has the name of the people being onboarded. And so this particular board, anyone in the project can come in here. Potentially other people could come in here and visually just see very easily where people are at within the whole onboarding process. And when I click on one of these cards, I again see specific information about the people. But what I really want to highlight in this use case is the workflow. So I haven't really talked about workflows in depth, but I'm going to show you the workflow for each of these onboarding processes for tier 1 and for tier 2. So workflows at a very high level in Jira are made up of two things. They're made up of statuses, which are these lozenges here. That's, again, meant to represent what state, what status, what part of the workflow is something in. And then you also have these lines, these arrowed lines in between them. These are called transitions. And this is, again, these can be transitions from one, all sorts of different paths through the workflow, but it's meant to allow you to go from one status to another status. And as we like to say in Jira, the statuses are where you're doing the work. The transitions are where Jira is doing the work. The transitions allow for all sorts of automation opportunities and validations and just to make sure that you're moving along in the way that you're meant to, and that you're able to have Jira do the work, or maybe other apps you have to automate, again, to create other tasks downstream, to maybe send something, some notification or some sort of data out to another external system. All those things can be done using these different transitions. In this particular case, this is the onboarding of tier 1 agents. So they would go through this particular process of being recruited, then scheduled, then trained, going into training, then peer mentoring, and then ultimately the happy path is they get to good to go. But you can also see there's other offshoots of this workflow where somebody may withdraw, somebody might be a no-show, and then eventually those might lead to being terminated. So you can get to this terminated at any different point. Again, that could be a possibility with these onboarding processes. So those all are represented here. We also have this universal transition, this up here called request terminated. And the reason that we'll use this from time to time is this allows for some really cool automation. Again, if this request terminated was chosen, it could kick off all sorts of different automation requests that go out to your HIRS and say, hey, this person needs to be deactivated in the system. And this, all sorts of different things that could potentially be needed to go out and create tasks for other things or update statuses and other tools. So lots of opportunity here, again, to both highlight where someone is at in the process, but also to automate and to allow for, all sorts of opportunities with that. And when we close this out again, a user could move along this workflow and you could very quickly see where things are at. And potentially when it goes to another, like when someone goes from training to peer mentoring, the person mentoring them would be changed as the assignee. So the assignee could very easily change as it goes from one status to another. That's completely normal, actually probably a pretty good practice here. So that's your tier 1 board and workflow. Then quickly I'll look at the tier 2 workflow. You can see the board's a little bit bigger because there are more statuses that people have to go through to become a tier 2 agent. It's a little bit more, more expertise, more training needed for that. So again, a board with this represents the tier 2 issue types, which again are highlighting people going through that onboarding process. So let me click on one of these users here. Again, they have fields that could be filled out specifically for tier 2 onboarding. And then when we come up here, we can see this particular work item is in past, but I can also come out here and view the workflow. And this workflow is a little bit bigger as we would expect. So there's a couple more statuses involved here, like testing, pass, certified, so certifications potentially needed. You can see here that there's some other different paths that people could take. They could go from scheduled and skip over testing and pass to go to certified because potentially they already came in with a certification. So there's different paths. Again, these can be very, very customized, these workflows. So lots of different paths they could take here. We still have the withdrawal, the no-show, the terminated, and statuses as well. So again, just to highlight, for every different work item or issue within Jira, you can make a unique workflow. So they don't all have to share the same workflows. They could, but they don't have to. So hopefully you're seeing that. And then this board is set up again for people to understand all the different, all the people coming through this particular onboarding. So that's our onboarding use case using Jira software with some really, really robust workflows and automations. Our next use case is service desks. So service desks, within a lot of companies, you typically think of your IT service desk or facilities, but they can also, your organization could have teams that are doing service requests like HR, marketing, legal. Like almost any team potentially is handling in requests, not just from their own team, but potentially from other teams within the organization. And they could be well served by a service desk. And the problem, again, is there's no clear prioritization of the work that's coming in from different channels. I mentioned here this multi-channel intake, right? You get an email coming in, or your boss sees you in the hallway and says, "Hey, I need you to work. You know, we need to do this particular tasks." You get phone calls. There's all these different channels, again, for intake. How do you handle this? How do you visualize it? How do you then even prioritize which work item needs to be done first? So all of these things are typical pain points for almost any team, but particularly teams handling requests coming in from outside of themselves. And they could, again, the customers like submitting those, they might be external customers, right? You might think of that as a service desk, but they could very well, again, be those internal customers, other people within your organization. So the solution at a high level is a service desk that provides a clean intake form. It provides an update, an up-to-date status and view for the requesters of those requests. And it also provides a clear prioritized queue or backlog, if you will, for the team working on the requests. It also helps to make automatic updates back to the requesters, potentially giving you the ability to serve self-help knowledge articles or to share knowledge articles very easily to the customers, and to also provide potentially some SLAs to help both the people handling the requests and the customers to know how long it should take to get an answer back or to help to resolve some particular issue. So again, service desks is a great solution for any type of team that are handling various requests that are coming in. So the solution, or the tool again for this solution, is Jira Service Management. That's what I'm going to highlight here, along with Confluence kind of playing a role as well. So let's go back to our cloud instance. And for this, I'm going to show you our Jira Service Management portal, or in this case, a help center, as it's called. So with Jira Service Management, you get this sort of portal view and this customer view where you're not seeing the Jira view that I was showing you as someone who's a user within Jira. You're able to show this help center or this portal view, both for your internal customers or your external customers. So in this case, they could potentially search for help here, asking for help from HR. This is going to try to look up resources, look up potential pages, help articles that are coming from Confluence. I'll talk about that a little bit more shortly. But maybe there's some other, a whole portal to go to for HR or request forms for HR. So it's going to help look up different possibilities out here. And when I scroll down, I can also see featured portals. And so we have an HR service desk here. There's a facility service desk. I can visualize some more out here. There's ideation, feature requests, things like that. But the idea here is behind the scenes, each of these portals is represented by a Jira Service Management project. So I'm going to focus here in this demo on the HR service desk to, again, highlight that the HR team, you could easily set up a service desk for them to help them handle their work intake. So what we see here is a service desk that has different, these are what are called request types. So an HIRS update, an employee onboarding, you can set this up and customize it however you need to. You can let me click on one of these. It's a little bit more complicated. So for an employee onboarding, notice here there's a form that has a lot of different fields, and you can tell there are different types of fields, and you can put different help text on these fields, and even conditionality to help make it a very dynamic form, depending on other fields that are chosen. So this is a fairly complex, pretty intricate form, just to give you a vision of how you can set these up. So there's a lot of options to set these up. So that's the employee onboarding form. But to submit one of these, I'm going to go to a more simple form, which is for the questions for HR. So here I'm choosing this. Again, each request can have a different set of fields to fill out. So in this case, it's a very basic one. It's essentially a summary and a description. So I would like a new computer. How can I ask for that? So I'm typing in a little summary. Notice here that Jira Service Management is trying to help answer your question without having you submit a request. So there's some suggested articles. Maybe one of these works, and I can go, well, let me check this one out. And it takes me still within this kind of portal overlay view. It's highlighting one of these articles, and this article is coming from Confluence. So again, really tight integration between Confluence and Jira Service Management. And I can go, yeah, you know what, this may or may not work, and I can give even some feedback if that was helpful. So you can bring in a lot of help articles here to help deflect the submission of requests. So those are going to be suggested here. But let's say that doesn't work for me and I need to submit something. So I send in this request. I, as the customer here, can see now this request was submitted. I can see the status update. I can share this with other users here within Jira. I can correspond back and forth with the HR team via comments, and that team can also comment and communicate back to me. I'll get emails for any updates. I can also reply to those emails. So you don't always just have to work in this portal view. You can reply and add comments via emails. So, but the idea here is this is the place where I can see updates as a customer, and I can even see all my requests out here that have been created by me. Where are they at in their status? When were they created? Things like that. So I can see all these things out here within this. And then what I can do, let's go back to this one. When I click on this particular issue, and I'm just going to try to go into it now. So now I'm going to put on my Jira Service Management agent hat, and I'm going to act now as one of the HR team members that's handling these requests. So I can come in here as the HR team. I can see the view screen now as the agent, all the different fields filled out on the portal. A lot of those fields would then come in and be filled out as different Jira fields here. And I can start working on this. I can update the status here. I can make comments either internally, or I can make comments back to the customer via commenting. I, as the agent, can see different related articles. So Jira Service Management is trying to check out articles that might be helpful. I haven't really talked about this too much, but there's a lot of AI within Jira. Not going to focus on that here, but there's AI to help summarize, to help just Jira Service Management agents do their work even more efficiently. But what I want to highlight too is that there are different queues that you can set up out here. So let's go over to the queue area. And these are essentially like filtered views of the work items or the request types that are coming in. These are each represented by a different issue type. And I can see more about each of these. I can assign myself to them, or I could assign these to other people on the team, and then they can know what they should be working on. And I can even see different SLAs like time to resolution, time to first response, things like that. So that's all out here available for your team to potentially utilize and to have this be something. And you can utilize automation within Jira. There's a lot of cool automation in Jira that you can auto assign your team members to. And yeah, just all sorts of great options within Jira Service Management for handling a service desk for any type of team. So I think that's all to say about that. Our last use case is around centralized knowledge. So who is this for? It is really for anyone, any type of team, any type of work, any type of organization is going to have information that they need to store for either their own internal use, artifacts like processes, FAQs, things like that, that they'll just need to reference over and over again. And they might also have things that they need to share more broadly with the other people in the company. So there's lots of use cases for this, right? And most companies are using some sort of place where they're storing their information, potentially Google Drive or SharePoint or you name it. There's a lot of options out there. But what I want to highlight here is that the problem is, where do I find the information, right? There's lots of different places this knowledge is being documented, but where can I easily find it? And is this information up to date? So the solution here is a centralized, organized portal for all of this knowledge, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean that portal is going to contain every last bit of the knowledge, right? But it could be that it's meant to be a portal to very quickly point people in the right direction. And the tool that I'm going to highlight here is, again, Confluence. So let's go back into Confluence. Here I'm going to just stay in that marketing space that I showed earlier. So we're going to still focus on this marketing team. And just imagine that this marketing team is clearly using Confluence to give status updates for projects. But this space in Confluence could also be used for their team and also other teams to come in here and go, what's the marketing team up to? Or how can I reach out to them? Where's their stuff? You know, very easily get to their knowledge base. So what I want to highlight here is different types of pages we've done for other teams or we've even used internally. So we have here a team homepage that, again, these could all be customized however you want to, but just highlighting some of the cool things about Confluence is this page obviously lives in Confluence, but the content here represents stuff in Confluence, but also represents links to other places. So this shares about the marketing team. It shares the latest updates. These are representing different pages within this Confluence space. So what has been updated recently. But then you come to this section of where to find us. Well, here's a link to an email. This is how you can email us. Here's a website, obviously out on the web, that might represent more about who they are as a team. You could do LinkedIn, YouTube. You can put links in here that go out to other places, because most teams aren't just working just in Confluence or just putting something in one tool. They're going to have artifacts or information spread all over the internet. This is highlighting the team. Then I talked about team calendars earlier. So that's meant to show you, hey, this is when our team members are going to be away or different events we have. There's frequently used resources. Again, these are all just links that are going out to potentially other Confluence pages, or they're going out to other websites or other tools. So lots of opportunity, again, for Confluence to be that portal, to point you in the right direction to get to where you want to go. So that's the team level homepage. A couple other pages to note here. Confluence can be a place for meeting notes, can certainly be a place for requirements, for documentation. We use Confluence extensively here within Valiantys for both our knowledge base, but also when we're working with other clients. We're documenting everything we're doing in their Confluence, or maybe in some separate Confluence that we're all collaborating in. So, but we use Confluence a lot here. So you can take meeting notes here. Here's a page and a few pages I want to highlight just to show you the different collaboration, or the different smart links, if you will, that Confluence has support for. So within a Confluence page, you can put in links to other cloud or SaaS solutions. So in this case, I have a Miro board that our team's working on. And instead of having to jump over to Miro, I can put the Miro board in here, and as long as we have access to Miro, I can come in here, I'm logged into Miro, and I can come in and I can start to make updates, and I can start to move around these sticky notes and make updates. And those would be, again, updated real time within Miro. So we can collaborate within a Confluence page, and I can highlight even this to other people to show a Miro board to other people as well. So that's one example of some smart linking. Another example of this is a smart link out to Trello. So let's say our marketing team is getting ready for a show we're doing in Vegas, a trade show. And so we have a Trello board set up, very basic one here about the things to get ready for that trade show. And again, I can highlight and collaborate in here. I can move things around. I can update this as if I were in Trello. So again, some tight integration between those tools that you can see here. There's also integration between Confluence and Google. So here I've got a Google Sheet referenced in a page. Here's a Google Doc referenced in a page that I can see and read. So again, saving you from the context switching, the tool switching, swivel chairing. I noticed that one of my team members also put in some other pages here just to highlight that Confluence keeps growing, keeps changing. They keep adding more and more features in here. Here's a page that's meant to represent it's a newer feature they're developing at Atlassian called a Confluence database. So that's bringing in things, again, a lot of these things are coming from Jira. So that's a Confluence database view. And there's also Confluence boards. So these are, again, a growing use case within Confluence where you can create boards. Again, maybe you don't need to use Miro anymore or one of these other board tools. You can start to use Confluence. And there's integration between Confluence and Jira where you can bring in Jira issues into your boards. And there's different templates out here as well. So a lot of cool features within Confluence to, again, be that portal, that initial place you go to find the information that you're looking for your team or for other teams within your company. Okay, so that ends our use cases. We have some time here at the end for questions. And so I'm going to look here and check out our Q&A area. I also, while we're kind of wrapping up, just wanted to highlight here, I'll kind of have this screen up here. And I think Kristen has also mentioned my email address and some other links here around our YouTube page, our other events we have. We have a lot of webinars. You clearly found out about this webinar and registered for it, or watching this on YouTube. Then we have a lot of webinars out there. Every Thursday, there's various webinars happening. They're all free, and we do record them and put them on YouTube. So, but please reach out to me if you have any other questions outside of this particular webinar. I'd love to help you out. So with that, I'm going to look and see if we have any questions. Let's see here, bear with me. Okay, so one question is, do you offer training for the tools that you showed today? So the quick answer is yes, we do provide training on any of these products. We have both custom training, and we also have more public training, we have public training, especially for Jira, Confluence, JSM, that you can find on the Valiantys website. You can register. Those are paid. You have to pay for those. But we do have regular trainings happening. But we also can certainly engage with your company and get a very customized training engagement set up. And so those could be, again, for any of these products, other products that Atlassian has, we can certainly do training for. We have a really sharp training team, and our trainers are consultants that work with companies, so they can bring those real life use cases into the trainings. So yeah, great question. Thank you for that. And then one other question is, how can I find out what our organization already has in terms of, I guess, for products? So if I see this, and I guess if you're meaning Atlassian products, you could reach out to your IT department. You could also reach out to us. We could work with Atlassian. Again, we have a very close relationship with Atlassian to find out if you have licenses already for various products within the Atlassian ecosystem. So we absolutely could help you to find that out. We also handle licensing for Atlassian products. So that's something we do in addition, and that's usually at no cost. So we can provide all those services as well, in addition to helping with any professional services related to setting up tools or trainings, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, thank you for that question. All right, well, we are coming up on time. Again, hope that this webinar was really helpful. Hopefully it gave you some ideas of how your team could potentially use some Atlassian tools to help solve some of those use cases, potentially around your knowledge storage and centralization of knowledge, service desks, project management, task management, or even that unique onboarding process that we help solve for that insurance company. So again, yeah, thank you for joining. Hope you can check us out, our other webinars as needed, and I look forward to hopefully hearing from you in the future. Have a great day.